My name is Roger Turner, and I'm honored to be your Holstein judge for the ST Genetics Style online show. I certainly felt that the quality of cattle that were presented in the Holstein show were tremendous and outstanding, and I really compliment all the breeders on their entries and their presentation, and the way that they were certainly videoed and recorded was exceptional. And to see so many entries from multiple countries was a really energizing and really exciting to spread that excitement throughout the world. So compliments in every degree with throughout the show and the quality of entries. So congratulations to everyone. I'm going to start with a little overview of the heifer show, and then I'll go into some reasons on the junior champion and reserve an honorable mention of the junior heifers of the Holstein junior heifer show. First of all, I thought the quality of the heifers was tremendous, outstanding. Lots of entries in multiple classes. I was really excited about the overall depth of a few of the classes that were presented. My overall junior champion came as a winter calf over a pair of spring calves for a reserve and honorable mention. I really felt that the winter calf was a heifer for me that just really showed that overall development in her frame and structure. But when it came right down to it for the junior champion over the reserve, I give her that advantage in that openness and spring to her rib. She just had that beautiful capacity and depth of her forerib and that great midsection. I also gave her an advantage during her placing with that overall width of rump. She had more width and squareness and more correctness and flatness to her rump structure. I also gave her an advantage that she was wider about her chest and just gave that advantage and that width throughout over the beautiful spring calf. The beautiful spring calf, I felt she was first in her class, and over the second place spring calf, she not only had that length of frame and that overall substance, I gave her an advantage. I thought she was more correct in her foot structure and her pasturing and the way she moved on her hind legs. I just thought she had a little more width between her hocks and just traveled a little more comfortably than did the second prize spring calf. For those reasons, I give junior champion on the winter calf and a pair of spring calves for reserve and honorable mention in your Holstein heifer class. I really thought the depth of quality was really strong, but when it came down to my pair of intermediate champions, I really felt that the intermediate champion over the reserve intermediate champion, I really felt that she just had a little more overall dairyness. She had a little more breed character, particularly up through that head, neck, and brisket for me, and she just had that beautiful quality throughout. Also give her an advantage, just a little more correct in her rump structure. She was more correct in the levelness from her hooks to pins and that slope from her hooks to pins, and just carried that throughout during that strong rump structure that she had over the reserve intermediate champion. Also give the intermediate champion a slight advantage in her bone quality. I thought she was a little flatter down through the bone of her hock and a little more desirable correctness in that bone quality that she had right down through her leg and through her hock. With that overall dairyness and breed character that she definitely had that advantage in that spring and depth of her forerib over the reserve intermediate champion. When it come down to mammary system, I thought both cows had tremendous mammary systems, beautiful length of forudder. The intermediate champion for me just had a little more symmetry, a little more squareness. I loved her shape of her udder, the way it blended into her forudder, blended into her body wall. But it came down to her shape and her symmetry and her rear udder. I felt she was just a little higher and a little more width right at the top of her rear udder today than did the reserve intermediate champion. Reserve intermediate champion over the honorable mention, not taking anything away from this beautiful junior 2-year-old that's in honorable mention. I think she deserves to be in a high honorable mention position. I think she's got a great future ahead of her. She's really made the way a young cow should be with her youthfulness. But I really felt that the reserve intermediate champion had that height and width to her rear udder, just a little more frame and development. Obviously, she's a little bit older and a little more mature, and she has that advantage in just being a little wider and a little more squareness, a little more frame throughout than did this beautiful junior 2-year-old. For those reasons, I placed the intermediate champion, as you see them, over the reserve intermediate champion in the honorable mention today. Came down to Grand Champion. We had certainly some exciting entries in the 4, 5, and 6-year-old and older classes. But I'm going to stay with my pair of intermediate champions for Grand and Reserve Grand today. So junior 3-year-old that was intermediate champion. She's going to be your Grand Champion. For those reasons that I used within the class of the intermediate champion, I just felt this cow with her bone quality, her dairiness, her breed character, and that spring that she had in depth of her forerib. She got over the senior 3-year-old today that was reserve intermediate champion, and she'll stay in that reserve grand champion position. I think that was a beautiful pair of cows that went very nicely together. And for those reasons, I'm going to keep them together for your grand and your reserve. Coming into honorable mention on the 4-year-old cow. And again, really a beautiful balanced cow and not taking anything away from her overall tremendous mammary system that she had. I just really give the advantage to the senior 3-year-old today, just being a little longer frame cow. She was a little longer from end to end for me. She just had a little more of that beautiful dairiness and breed character. She's just a little cleaner down through her thighs than was the beautifully balanced 4-year-old for honorable mention. A beautiful set of champions, in my opinion, for Grand, Reserve, and honorable mention on the 4-year-old.